What's up, YouTube? I'm Galate74 here, bringing you our Week 10 battle of the IBA. This week we are taking Coach Perfecte Blue, or just Blue, and his San Diego State Azelfs, and one of the coolest logos ever. I said that about Davion Week 5, but these Davion and Blue's logos are easily my top two favorite in this league. I really enjoy those, the looks of those guys' logos. But anyway, we are going back into our division to face the last three people in our division for the remainder of the season, as we only have three more games. Notice we played odds around first game of the season. Blue took over for him, so now we're facing Blue, and he's revamped a team of odds. So the team it's pretty different compared to odds because he did make a lot of changes, but there are a few threats that he still has. I'm going to go over the team, but before we do that, quick shout-outs to A. Aaron for recording this battle. As always, man's an absolute legend, and his quality is perfect, as well as Nick. He is another legend who genned my team this week. Just one of my favorite mans ever. His links will be in the description, as well as all the other coaches in the league. So we're going to go over Blue's team now. If it loads for me, it loaded this week. That's pretty nice. Oh, and before I go over his team, I realize that these uploads are going to go up on Sunday probably for the remainder of the year because Aaron usually records my battle late on Friday night to the point where I can't record. So I'm just going to upload it Sunday. It's not a big deal. But anyway, going over Blue's team. Blue's team is very threatening as he has Naganadel, Necrozma, Dugtrio, Crocodile, Mega Manetric, Burloom, Talonflame, Bronzong, Blastoise, Frostlass, Diancie, and Toucannon. Z users being Dugtrio, Talonflame, and Toucannon. Now, he did have the Naganadel from last time, and the Necrozma, as well as the Crocodile. I think that's all he had. That was all he had. I think he made changes to everything else on the team. So he revamped his team like crazy. Naganadel obviously is one of the most busted mons ever. I didn't realize that at first, but when I built the first time around, when I started building again, I'm like, damn, this thing's really busted against most teams. So there's that. But honestly, I think we put together a pretty good team to take on his team. So we're gonna go over my team now. So here I brought a Chandelure with just Choice Scarf, Max Speed, Timid, Max Special Attack, with Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, and Will-O-Wisp with the Infiltrator. I had to run Max Speed because a Scarf Necrozma was pretty scary, so this outspeeds the Scarf Necrozma, and Shadow Ball will do a lot if it's Scarfed, because, if Necrozma is bulky, you can definitely tank a hit, but especially with Prism Armor, but if it's not bulky, it will do a lot of damage. So that was the point for Chandelure. It's meant to sweep late game. The Naganadel just depends on the set, because if it's like a Scarf set, it could be scary, or if it just gets a speed boost, it'll be scary, but I have ways around that, as I'll get into a little bit later. Next, we got Sharpedo. Yes, I'm bringing Sharpedo for the second time this year, with 236 Jolly, with 252 attack, and a little bit in bulk, with the moves Liquidation, Crunch, Earthquake, and Protect. This covers most of his team. I had to run Jolly because a Scarf Crook actually does a lot of work to my team, especially with the Chandelure I'm bringing. Chandelure kind of just gets destroyed by Pursuit and anything this thing wants to go for. So Sharpedo is a good way offensively to deal with the Crocodile. Going back to the Chandelure, it does do a lot of work to his team. Like, almost everything on his team doesn't really want to take hits from Chandelure outside of Crook. So I had to figure a way around that. Next, we have Hippowdon, our especially defensive wall with Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Slack Off, and Toxic. This is mainly this is my best way to tank hits from the Naganadel. And it is also here to tank hits from, I think it can tank hits from Talonflame despite it being especially bulky. It can tank hits from Dugtrio because Dugtrio doesn't really have the greatest attack. It can tank hits from Crocodile as well. And Mega Manetric, that was it. Mega Manetric, the good thing about Mega Manetric is that it doesn't, well, the bad thing, it doesn't get Grass Knot. The thing I always fear with using Hippowdon against electric types is that a decent amount of electric types get Grass Knot, which, since Hippowdon's really fat, it takes a lot of damage from. But since Mega Manetric's best way to hit Hippowdon is HP Ice. And with his investment, it can barely 3-KO, I think. It would have to be, modest to be able to 3-KO, confidently. So, I'm pretty safe with that in mind, but it's mainly here for the Naganadel. That's mainly here. And Stealth Rock as well, because Stealth Rock's really hurt his team. I don't think he's got the greatest removal outside of Talonflame and, the Talonflame. So, yeah. Next, we got Latias with Ghost DMZ, Max Special Attack, Modest Nature, with Psychic, Energy Ball, Surf, and Shadow Ball. I'm using Latias just to spam moves and weaken down his team. I originally had Thunderbolt, but Energy Ball was better because it covers both Crook and Blastoise. That's what it was, yeah. So that's what that is. And Latias is my main switch in for Blastoise, because I don't really have a switch in for that thing. I don't really expect Blastoise to come because I have a Raikou on the team, but you know, there's a chance. It's his only spinner that isn't weak to rocks. So yeah. Next we have Skarmory with Spikes, Roost, Drill Peck, Whirlwind, 180 defense, Impish Nature, 244 HP, and a little bit of special defense investment. I originally had Iron Head on this thing to make sure I can just completely hardwall that Deontay, but I realized that Breloom is kind of a threat compared to the Deontay on the team, because Deontay can't really offensively pressure my team compared to Breloom. Breloom can, while I do have a lot of good offensive checks to Breloom, I can't really defensively check it with Hippowdon because, you know, Seed Bomb and Bullet Seed, but Skarmory can check this thing pretty well, so that's why I decided to run Drill Peck, so I can just demolish it after, you know, I take a hit from it. So that's that. And lastly, we have Silvally Rock with Hidden Power Rock, Shadow Ball, Parting Shot, and Thunder Wave with a lot of special defense and a little bit of defense. Thunder Wave is to cripple that Naganadel. I didn't realize this at first. It was actually an accident, but it was actually really good that I found out. Obviously, rock types get special defense boost when they're in the sand. Hippowdon got Sandstream, so I realized when I was doing a calc, I put sand in on accident when I was calcing, and it can actually really tank hits from the Naganadel. So the good thing is I can just paralyze it, and then that thing's just crippled for the rest of the game. So that was there for that. It also really tanks hits from the Talonflame as well as the Frostlass. I do see the Frostlass could be a good bring because Spikes, Destiny Bond exists, Focus Sash. That's pretty scary because Frostlass is pretty fast. So that's that. And that is basically the team. Other notes I wrote down is I almost did bring a sub Pex. It would have done work for the Naganadel. Make sure Naganadel doesn't get too set up. But, you know, I ended up not bringing it in the end. What else did I write down? I think that was kind of it. So that was it. Oh, and I did learn that Chandelure is immune to Arena Trap. So if he does bring the Doug Trio, Chandelure can easily just switch out of there. By the way, for the next two, this is the last match. I'm going to go deep in detail about my team because Kurt and Nick are possibly in playoff contention as well as I am. So I don't want to reveal too much of my set. And this is becoming a really long team builder. I apologize so much. But that's going to be it for the next 2 weeks for the team builders. So that's enough for that. No layout because I like the way this looks better. And we're going to get right into the battle. So here we are for the battle. I apologize again for that team builder being very long. Not usually longer than like what I'm used to. But anyway, looking at his team, I realized that he doesn't really have a good switch in for Earthquake besides Breloom. So once Breloom's out of the way, I can just spam Earthquake. I have to be careful of Frostlass too because that could just do a lot of damage to Hippowdon. But I decided to leave off with Silvally because everything that's faster than Silvally, I can just T-Wave and live a hit easily, while everything slower, I can just Parting Shot out of. So here, I decided to Parting Shot out on the Necrozma, as he's probably just going to get up rocks because the way he just let it, or get a sub up. The sub was kind of scary, but I was expecting the rocks, which he does end up going for, which kind of sucks, but, you know, I prefer rocks on his side of the field because he's got no removal, and rocks hurt his team a little more than they hurt my team. So there's that. The only thing that really hurts is the Chandelure, and I'm not really planning on bringing that out too much. So I just get up a layer of Spikes to start hazard stacking his team as he does bring out the Manectric. Now, knowing I have a Hippowdon on the back, I'm thinking he's probably just going for the HP Ice, knowing like you can't just safely click Volt Switch on with a ground type like Hippowdon just coming in like this. So I do send up Hippowdon. I do want to make the safe play because I don't want my Skarmory taking so much damage for the Breloom because Skarmory is basically my only switch in for the Breloom defensively. So there's that. He's going to Mega Evolve and stay in, of course. Get that nice Intimidate off. I do love Mega Manectric, by the way, so yeah. Pretty cool Mega, as he does just go for the HP Ice, so good play on his part. Luckily, that Hippowdon is very specially defensively bulky this week. It's not going to be a 2-ko, so I can get some chip on this Manectric. And I do learn out that I think this thing is modest. I couldn't quite tell at first. I think it was modest. It was either like a low roll modest or a high roll timid. It was one of those things. Anyway, he does send in the Breloom as I'm just going to get my rocks up because, again, I can just start stacking against his team because he has no removal. He did not bring the Talonflame. He didn't bring the Blastoise. So, again, more chip damage on this Breloom. That's good to start off with. If it's Sash, it's broke. Obviously, I need Hippowdon for a lot of his teams, but I can't stay in here and risk a Seed Bomb or a Bullet Seed. So I'm going to have to switch out into my Skarmory as it is my dedicated switch into this Breloom. As he comes out and whips out the Focus Punch, and I'm just like, man, this dude. A Focus Punch is actually a really good move in my opinion in drafts. I'm really shocked I haven't brung it on Mega Lopunny yet because, you know, people switch out on Mega Lopunny a lot. So Focus Punch is just 150 face power, is just so strong. The good thing is that I learned that this Breloom is banded because of that damage, and I decided to take a big risk and just go for the Drill Peck here. And the good thing I did, because this Breloom's now dead, if he would have switched out there into like Mega Manectric, Dropek would have done nothing. I would have been on low health, and I would have to bring in like something else and had Skarmory sacked off. But good thing is Breloom's down, so now that Hippowdon can easily spam Earthquake against his team, as you'll see is going to be a trend in a few minutes. Here, since Skarmory did his purpose, all Skarmory really does now in this match is set up spikes. So for the off chance the Naganadel doesn't kill me, it's going to kill me with Dragon Pulse, which I wasn't really too shocked about. I could learn what Beast Boost this thing's going to get. I was really expecting a Speed Boost because, that'd be pretty useful, but it's actually a special attack. So I'm thinking, this might be Modest, like Modest Scarf, which was one of like the few Naganadel sets I was a little scared of in prep, because Modest like Draco Meteor does so much damage. It does have Dragon Pulse, which is really good because now he can't knock out this Hippowdon. Well, actually, with the +1 in special attack, it was like a roll, I think. But like regularly, it can't knock it out. So I was a little scared. It was my only option. And if I did live, I think even if it was a roll, I don't know the rolls exactly, so I can't give you like confident answers to that. So I apologize for that. But regardless, I can just fire off an Earthquake, and nothing really wants to take an Earthquake now, as he does switch in his Crocodile on the Earthquake, and it does so much damage. Here, he goes for Earthquake. I just had to slack off because I didn't want to hard switch in Latias, just in case he wanted to knock off my leftovers, because that was definitely possibly a play. So I just slack off to see how much damage he's going to do. I don't think that was banded, and it wasn't Life Orb, so I'm not sure what item this thing is exactly. I'm going to go off the bank and say it's Scarf. So I make a really ballsy play here and go into Latias on his Earthquake, as I don't think he's going to knock off, as he does just Earthquake. Now, I'll take a little sand damage. Now, I'm going to make like another big boy play, like seriously, like bigger balls than Poise had last week when he switched in Kieran Black into Latias. If you haven't checked out that video, you should go check it out. Shame plug. Anyway, I go for Psychic on the switch in because I was expecting him to go into Naganadel, because, I mean, as ballsy as that sounds, Energy Ball or Surf would do nothing to Naganadel. So I just go for the Psychic, as he does bring in the Necrozma. Now, if you guys watch the Team Builder, I had Z Ghost, and his Bronzong's not here, so I can just click it on this Necrozma, as that's who it's meant for. And this Necrozma is going to balloon all the way back into Mars. So this Necrozma is going to go down, which is good. I'm really starting to like Z-move Latias a lot. I knew I was going to like it from the start, but I wasn't like, I didn't think I was going to like bring it like as much as I have this season. So down goes Necrozma, and that's really good because, what is it? I mean, it's just good. That's another Pokemon down. Anyway, the sand subsides at basically a perfect time. Naganadel comes in. It's going to take more chip from Stealth Rocks and Spikes, which is good because Hippowdon, because Manectric's got Intimidate, obviously. So if Manectric was to come in late game and intimidate my Hippowdon as a sack, Naganadel takes like maybe 50% from a -1 Earthquake. But since it's almost at 50%, it won't matter. So here I decide just to stay in and just sack off my Latias. I didn't have anything else to switch in. I'm just going right back into Hippowdon because, Hippowdon's a good switch in. And at this point, I'm really confident that he doesn't have anything that's going to harm this Hippowdon to a point where I can't knock it out. So I can just start spamming Earthquake again. He's going to go back out into Crocodile and just sack that off, which is good because now Chandelure has a little more breathing room. Crocodile was the biggest threat to Chandelure outside of Naganadel, because Naganadel is probably Scarf. I don't know. He had a lot of like Pokemon on his team this week that could potentially be Scarf. I don't know, because like Crook could be Scarf. I never found out what item that was. Naganadel could probably be Scarf if it's Modest nature. That would make sense to me. But regardless, he brings in Frostlass here, and I obviously can't stay in. He's going to take a boatload from Stealth Rocks and Spikes. I do have a really weird but reliable switch into Sharpedo. You would think, oh, Sharpedo's got paper thin special defenses, but it's a Frostlass. So I'm going to take some Rocks damage, which is fine. He is going to go for the Shadow Ball, as I am actually not going to tank this too well, because it is a critical hit, actually. Which, honestly, in the battle, I'm going to be real with you, Blue messaged me after and said, sorry about that crit, but the game was pretty clean overall. But I didn't even notice that I got crit. I looked away when it happened, so I was just thinking, oh, Sharpedo is really weak. So here I'm going to Protect, get my speed boost, and basically kind of just go for game, because I can just outspeed Manectric. Manectric's low enough for a -1 Earthquake to be tanked, and this thing dies to a crunch, and then at +2 I just outspeed with Earthquake and hit Naganadel as well. However, it turns out this Frostlass is Scarfed, so I'm thinking, how many Scarfers does he have on this team? I'm not sure. That Crocodile might not be Scarf. I'm really thinking that Naganadel scarfed, and well, this thing is definitely scarfed. I just confirmed it. So that's good now to know because he's locked in the Shadow Ball. So Valley takes little to no damage because the sand is up, special defense boost, and I'm very especially bulky. Here I took a really long time thinking, should I go for T-Wave or should I go for the HP Rock? Because if I go for the HP Rock and he switches into Naganadel, it does nothing. If he wasn't Scarf for some reason and had like sub, that'd be really scary. But I decided just to try and kill this thing in the end because it was kind of a threat to my team if it's Scarfed because it outspeeds the Chandelure and it outspeeds the Hippowdon. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm glad he stayed in and let me kill it because now all he has is Manectric and the Naganadel, and those two just get easily killed by Earthquake. Here he goes for the Snarl. Good tech on his part. I like the move Snarl as well. I'm really liking some of the small minor moves he's put on his sets this week. I really props to Blue. I can't speak English. I'm just going to parting shot and go for game here and go back into Hippowdon because, again, as I mentioned before, Mega Manectric can only hit Hippowdon with Hidden Power Ice. Now, with it at -1, it's doing even less damage. So I'll get the sand back up, do some chip damage to this Mega Manectric, not that it's going to matter. Get some leftovers recovery. Here I decided I'm going to slack off once for the off chance. He goes for HP Ice, of course, because, you know, what else is he going to go for? I'm going to slack off because if I just went for Earthquake there, and I would obviously knock it out, and he came in with Naganadel and crit me with Dragon Pulse, I would have to rely on like hitting a T-Wave, which is, I know it's 90%, which is pretty like reliable, but I would prefer just the guaranteed win with the slack off turn, so, you know, whatever. I'm going to take this HP Ice, got a little bit of a higher roll this time around, but, you know, who cares. And I'll just go for the Earthquake, and this Mega Manectric is dead. So the only way he could possibly win at this point is if he's either A, carrying Draco Meteor, which would make no sense because Dragon Pulse he already has, or if he crits me with Dragon Pulse, and then I miss like a Thunder Wave or something like that, because... And if it's Scarf. So a lot of things have to go his way in order for him to win this game at this point. He's under half. He dies to a lot of things, so that's good. As he's going to go for the Dragon Pulse, it will reveal, like, finally, if this thing's, like, Specs or Life Orb for the Specs for the off chance. He's not, though, because that if it was Specs, it would have done so much more. So down goes Naganadel, and we are going to pick up a nice 3-0 win. I talk a lot, I really realize that. So GG to Blue. I really had a fun battle this game. It wasn't really like too hacksy. It was a nice balanced game. I think I played personally. I think I played well, so that's good. So we have 2 more games. We move on to 7 and 3. We face Just Kurt next week, who took over for Pokemaster Mike, and then we have Reckless Bat Nick in the final match. In order to make playoffs, it's pretty much in our favor. All we have to do is either beat Kurt or Nick, and hope Blue doesn't just like fail. So if we can beat Kurt or Nick, because the playoff race is really close right now, like two of 3 of us is basically going to make it at this point. And again, if I just beat one of them, then I'm basically set for playoffs. So again, GG to Blue. Make sure to go check out his link in the description below, as well as all of the wonderful coaches in the league. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know what else to say, and I'll see you guys next week against Kurt. A fantastic day.